Jokić, at this point, it's not really a debate anymore, because before him, the Nuggets had great players. Guys like Carmelo Anthony, Alex English, elite scorers, franchise icons. They never had a player who could control the entire game from the center position. Jokić didn't just become Denver's best player, he changed what the team even looks like. We're talking about a guy who's won multiple MVPs, put up near triple-double averages, and runs the offense like a point guard. Except he's 7 feet tall and doesn't even jump. And the biggest thing, he delivered a championship. That's always the separator, because a lot of players can put up numbers. A lot of players can make all-star teams. But being the guy who actually takes your franchise to the top, that's different. And when Jokić got the right pieces around him, Jamal Murray, the role players, the system, everything clicked. The Nuggets went from a good playoff team to the team everyone had to go through. And the scary part, he's not even done yet, because the way Jokić plays doesn't rely on athleticism. It's not about speed or jumping out of the gym. It's about timing, positioning, and decision making. That kind of game ages well, really well. So this might not even be the peak of his career. You can talk about the stats, you can talk about the MVPs, but once you add a championship and the fact that he could keep doing this for years, that's what separates a franchise legend from a franchise GOAT. Garnett, this one's different, because for Minnesota, KG is the franchise. Before him, the Timberwolves didn't really have an identity, and after he left, it took years to find anything close to it again. Garnett did everything: scoring, rebounding, defending, leading. He was the reason the Timberwolves were relevant at all. At his peak, you're talking about around 24 points, 14 rebounds, and elite defense, plus an MVP in 2004. And more than anything, it was the energy. Every game felt like it mattered to him. Talking, competing, doing whatever it took. He carried that team further than it probably should have gone. And that's why he's the GOAT there. But this might be one of the only teams where you can actually see the future changing it, because Anthony Edwards is coming, and you can already feel it. The scoring, the confidence, the big moments. He's got that face of the franchise energy. So right now, it's still Garnett, pretty clearly. But if Ant keeps trending the way he is, this might be one of the few GOAT conversations that actually changes over time. Westbrook, yeah. This one's going to be debated, because you've got KD, one of the greatest scorers ever, who took OKC to the finals. But when you talk about the Thunder as a franchise, Westbrook, because nobody meant more to that team. The energy, the intensity, the way he played every single night like it actually mattered, that was OKC. And then there's the MVP season, averaging a triple-double, dragging that team to the playoffs after KD left, hitting big shot after big shot. That wasn't just stats, that was a statement, and he stayed loyal through everything. That matters too. So yeah, KD might be the better player all time, but for the Thunder, it's Westbrook right now. But this might not last, because Shea is right there. He's already putting up around 30 a game, leading one of the best teams in the league and right in the middle of the MVP race. So if he wins either an MVP or a championship this year, he's the GOAT, because at that point he'd have what Westbrook didn't, and that's what usually decides it. Dame. This one's actually pretty simple, because Portland has had great players. Clyde Drexler, Brandon Roy, guys who could really hoop. But nobody defines that franchise like Damian Lillard. The shots alone are enough. Deep threes, series winners, waving teams goodbye. Dame time became an actual thing, and everyone knew what it meant. But it wasn't just the moments, it was the loyalty. Dame stayed through good teams, bad teams, everything. And he kept producing 30-point seasons, clutch performances, carrying the offense every night. He didn't bring a championship, but he gave Portland an identity, and sometimes that matters just as much. Because when you think of the Blazers now, you think of Dame, and that's what makes him the GOAT there. Malone, yeah, nah, we're not doing that. If you know, you know. So instead, let's talk about John Stockton, because if you're taking Malone out of the conversation, this becomes pretty clear. Stockton is one of the most consistent players the NBA has ever seen. All-time leader in assists and steals, and it's not even close. Like, those records might never get broken. And the crazy part, he did it all with the same team, same system, same role, just showing up every night and running the offense perfectly. No flash, no extra stuff, just making the right play over and over again. Him and the Jazz were contenders for years, and a huge part of that was how steady he was. You always knew what you were getting, and that matters, because while he didn't have the scoring numbers Malone had, he controlled everything. So if you're looking at impact, longevity, and what he meant to the franchise, Stockton's the guy. And honestly, they're probably the safer one to pick too. Nash. And yeah, this one might start arguments, because you've got Charles Barkley, who took the Suns to the finals and won an MVP, but when you look at the Suns at their absolute peak, it's Steve Nash. Back-to-back MVPs running one of the most efficient offenses the league had ever seen at time. The 7 seconds or less Suns didn't just win games, they changed how basketball was played. Everything was faster, more spacing, more threes. Sound familiar? Nash was the engine behind all of it. We're talking about a guy averaging around 11 assists a game, controlling the pace, making everyone around him better. Amare, shooters, role players, everyone thrived next to him. And that's what makes his case so strong. He didn't just put up numbers, he elevated the entire team. Now, yeah, no championship, and that's the one thing people will always bring up. But even without it, Nash gave Phoenix its most iconic era, the most exciting version of the Suns we've ever seen. So yeah, Barkley has a case. But if you're talking about impact, identity, and changing the game, it's Nash, Kobe, and yeah, this is where it gets serious. Because the Lakers don't just have great players, they have legends. Magic, Kareem, Shaq, LeBron. You could honestly make a case for a few different guys here. But when you think Lakers, it's Kobe, 20 years with one franchise, 5 championships, countless moments, the shots, footwork, the mentality, everything about him just fit what the Lakers are supposed to be. Big stage, big expectations, and he delivered. Game winners, finals runs, 81 points, playing through injuries like nothing happened. That Mamba mentality wasn't just a slogan, it was how he played every night. And that's what separates him in this conversation, because it's not just about how great he was, it's about what he meant to the franchise, the connection with the fans, the loyalty, the way he carried the Lakers through different eras. Even with all the legends that came before and after, Kobe is the one most people think of first. And for a franchise like the Lakers, that says everything. Curry. And this one, not really a debate anymore, because before Curry, the Warriors were just another team. They had moments, sure, some good players, but nothing that really defined an era. Then Curry shows up and everything changes. We're talking about a player who didn't just win, he changed how the entire sport is played. The shooting range, the off-ball movement, the way defenses had to guard him the second he crossed half court. That wasn't normal, and it forced the whole league to adjust. 4 championship, multiple MVPs, including the first unanimous MVP ever, and on top of that, he built a dynasty. That's the difference, because great players put up numbers. All-time great players win, but players like Curry, they changed the game itself. Now, yeah, you can mention guys like Wilt, but that wasn't the Warriors as we know them today. Curry is. He is that era. So when you think Golden State now, you're not thinking about history, you're thinking about him, and that's why this one's locked. CP3. And yeah, this one's a bit weird because the Clippers don't really have a clear, undisputed GOAT. But if you look at when they actually became relevant, it starts with Chris Paul. Before him, they weren't taken seriously. Then CP3 shows up, Lob City, winning seasons, playoff runs, and suddenly the Clippers matter. Blake Griffin was the highlight, but CP3 was the one running everything. The leader, the decision maker, the reason it worked. So for the Clippers, it's him, at least for now. Oscar. And yeah, this one goes way back because the Kings' history isn't just Sacramento, it includes the Cincinnati Royals, and that's where Oscar Robertson comes in. And honestly, he might be the most talented player this franchise has ever had. We're talking about a guy who averaged a triple-double for an entire season. Not close to one, an actual triple-double. And he did it in an era where that just didn't happen. He was scoring, rebounding, playmaking, basically doing everything on the court at a level nobody had really seen before. Now, yeah, the Kings have had great teams since then. The early 2000s with Webber, the recent teams with Fox, but no one has reached that level individually. And when you're talking GOAT of a franchise, sometimes it just comes down to who was the best player to ever wear the jersey. For the Kings, that's Oscar. Dirk. This one's easy because when you think Mavericks, you think Dirk Nowitzki. One team, one guy, one legacy. 20 years in Dallas, putting up numbers, changing the way big men play. The real reason? That championship run. Beating the Heat super team as the clear number one option. That's what locks it in. That's the kind of ring that ends debate. And yeah, probably would have been Luka. Like, let's be honest. If he stayed, kept putting up those numbers, maybe won a ring, we're having a completely different conversation. But yeah, that didn't happen. So for Dallas, it's Dirk. Duncan. And yeah, this one might be the most locked on the whole list because Tim Duncan is the Spurs. 5 championships, 2 MVPs, nearly 2 decades of winning. And not just winning, consistency. Year after year, the Spurs were right there and Duncan was the reason why. No drama, no noise, just showing up, doing his job and dominating in the most quiet way possible. Bank shot, defense, leadership, nothing flashy, just effective. And that's what made him so great because while other teams had ups and downs, San Antonio was always steady and that started with him. So for the Spurs, there's no debate. It's Duncan, Hakeem, and yet this one's locked because the Rockets have had great players, Harden, T-Mac, guys who could really score, but nobody brought what Hakeem did. Talking about a center with elite footwork, defense, scoring, the full package, the dream. And the biggest thing, back-to-back championships, right in the middle of the Jordan era too, that's what makes it different because he didn't just dominate, he won. Finals MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, all of it. And if you watch him, it still looks different. The footwork, the moves, the control, Big still study him today. So for Houston, it's Hakeem, Gasol, And yeah, this one's a bit quieter because the Grizzlies haven't had that long list of all-time legends like some other teams, but when they were at their best, it was built around Marc Gasol. Grit and grind, slow, physical, defensive basketball, and Gasol was right at the center of it. Defensive player of the year, elite passer for a big, and the anchor of one of the toughest teams to play against. They weren't flashy, but nobody wanted to play them. Now yeah, you can look at Ja Morant, the talent, the highlight, potential, it's all there. And if he keeps going the way he is, he could easily take this spot in the future. But right now, Gasol was the guy who defined that era. So for Memphis, it's him for now. Anthony Davis. And yeah, this one's pretty clear because the Pelicans haven't had a long history of superstars, but when they did, it was Anthony Davis. We're talking about a guy putting up around 28 points, 11 rebounds, and elite defense, doing everything on both ends of the floor. Blocking shots, scoring inside, hitting mid-ranges. He was the entire team. At one point, he was arguably a top 5 player in the league. Problem? Not much team success, a couple playoff runs, one big series win, but nothing that really pushed them into contender status, and then eventually he left. So yeah, it's not a perfect GOAT case, but when you look at talent, production, and impact while he was there, no one else really comes close. So for New Orleans, it's AD, even if that chapter didn't last as long as it could have.